The rain began to fall just as the last sliver of sunlight dipped below the horizon. I was home alone, my parents out for a rare date night. Our old house, creaky and filled with shadows, seemed even more intimidating with the storm outside. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the wind howled through the trees, making them dance like skeletal figures in the darkness. I settled onto the couch, pulling a blanket around my shoulders, and tried to distract myself with a movie. The house was eerily quiet, the usual creaks and groans amplified by my solitude. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but I dismissed it as paranoia. After all, I was 17, too old to be scared of being alone at night. The movie didn't hold my attention. I kept glancing at the windows, watching the rain pound against the glass. Lightning flashed, illuminating the room for a split second, casting eerie shadows that played tricks on my mind. I decided to make some popcorn, hoping the activity would calm my nerves. In the kitchen, I fumbled with the microwave, my hands shaking slightly. The storm seemed to be getting worse, the thunder now directly overhead. As the popcorn began to pop, I heard a faint noise from upstairs. It was a soft, shuffling sound, barely audible over the storm. I froze, straining to listen. Probably just the wind, I muttered to myself, trying to ignore the gnawing fear in my gut. I returned to the living room with my popcorn, but the noise persisted. It grew louder, more distinct. Someone, or something, was moving upstairs. My heart raced, and I considered calling my parents, but I didn't want to ruin their night over what was likely my imagination. Instead, I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a fireplace poker, and cautiously made my way up the stairs. The upper floor was even darker than the first. The hallway stretched out like a black void, the only light coming from the occasional flash of lightning. I crept forward, each step feeling like it echoed through the entire house. The noise was coming from my parents' bedroom at the end of the hall. I paused outside their door, every instinct screaming at me to turn back. Summoning all my courage, I slowly pushed the door open. The room was pitch black, and I fumbled for the light switch. As the light flickered on, I saw nothing out of the ordinary. The bed was made, the room tidy, but the closet door was slightly ajar. Holding my breath, I approached the closet. My hand trembled as I reached for the handle. Suddenly, the door swung open, and I let out a scream, swinging the poker wildly, but there was nothing there, just empty space and hanging clothes. Feeling foolish, I let out a nervous laugh. Get a grip, I told myself, closing the closet door firmly. But as I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of something in the mirror. A shadowy figure stood behind me, its eyes glowing a sinister red. I spun around, but the room was empty. My heart pounded in my chest, and I backed out of the room, keeping my eyes on the mirror. The figure remained, its eyes following my every move. I fled down the hall, tripping over my own feet in my haste. Back in the living room, I grabbed my phone and dialed my parents' number. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again, but the storm must have knocked out the cell towers. Panicking, I considered calling the police, but what would I tell them? That I saw a ghost in the mirror? I decided to wait it out. I locked all the doors and windows, then barricaded myself in the living room. I sat on the couch, gripping the poker like a lifeline. The storm raged on outside, and I kept my eyes glued to the hallway, expecting the figure to appear at any moment. Hours passed, and the rain finally began to let up. I started to relax, convincing myself that it was all in my head. Exhausted, I dozed off on the couch. I woke to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. My heart leaped into my throat as I saw the shadowy figure standing at the foot of the stairs, its red eyes glowing menacingly. It moved slowly toward me, its form shifting and writhing like smoke. Paralyzed with fear, I watched as it approached. It stopped a few feet away, its eyes boring into mine. "You shouldn't be here," it whispered, its voice like nails on a chalkboard. "What do you want?" I managed to choke out, my voice trembling. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it raised a hand and pointed toward the front door. "Leave," it hissed. I didn't need to be told twice. I bolted for the door, fumbling with the lock in my haste. I threw it open and ran out into the night, the rain soaking me to the bone. I didn't stop running until I reached the end of the street, where I collapsed, gasping for breath. When my parents returned home, they found me shivering and soaked, huddled under a neighbor's porch. I tried to explain what had happened, but they dismissed it as a nightmare, a product of my overactive imagination. But I knew what I saw, and I knew that something sinister lurked in our house, waiting for the next rainy night to emerge from the shadows. The memory of that night haunted me for years, a chilling reminder of the horrors that can find you when you're home alone on a rainy night.